701. Today we're going to do cooking for our cooking class. Okay, we haven't done cooking in a while, so I'm going to go ahead and cook what's known as banana muffins. But before we start, let me go ahead and introduce my assistant, Maya. Maya's going to help me out and do some cooking. What is the first thing before we touch any food or any items is we have to get prepared. Okay, the first thing is, those of you with long hair, you need to tie your hair back. The second thing is you need to wash your hands. Do your hair first, then wash your hands, because you don't want to wash your hands and then dirty it up with your hair again. And we washed our hands and we put up our hair. So the first thing you want to do at any time when you're baking, while you're cooking, you want your oven to preheat. So come over here, we're gonna set our oven. Press bake first, and you see 350 degrees, and then we're gonna hit start, and it'll light up, and you'll see that it's starting to preheat. We have two of them are large and one is small. So this is about 3 large bananas or 4 small bananas, so this size will work. We have everything set aside. We're gonna use any yellow cake mix. So you can use, it doesn't have to be this brand, I just happen to really like this brand. We're gonna add some cinnamon at the end, and then we're also gonna add some nutmeg, so I'll bring that aside. And I have my muffin tin here, and I have a masher. This masher will go ahead and smash all the bananas into our mixing bowl. So I'm gonna ask my assistant to go ahead and start peeling the bananas. Now we have our bananas in the bowl, and she's gonna go ahead and mash all these bananas so that they're the same consistency. And while she's mashing, let's talk about how bananas feel, okay? So part of these lessons are sensory. Bananas feel mushy, they are soft. Even on the ripest bananas, which are a little bit harder, they're still soft. And they're very fragrant as she's mushing them. I can smell it. It's a very distinctive banana smell. There's nothing to compare it to. Okay, so she is still smashing those bananas so they have the same kind of consistency. Okay, so it's a very soft, silky, smooth consistency. Again, if you take your hands and you can feel it, you can feel how soft it is. And now I'm gonna add my cake mix, and I'm not advocating this brand, but it is my favorite brand. It's just something I really like to use, but use any cake mix that you want. We prefer using the yellow cake mix, so I'm going to go ahead and open it. And we're just gonna cut the top carefully, cut away. And right now I'm going to pour a little bit out onto here, onto the napkin, okay? Remember, I have clean hands, but this is also part of being sensory. I want you to take part of it and feel it in front of your hands. See, the color is white, and it feels almost like a very, very fine, powdery, or very fine sand. You can smell it. You can smell it. It smells delicious. It smells like cake. Very soft. Incorporated our cake mix with our bananas. So if you take a quick look at it, it's no longer soft and silky. The banana is not almost like more liquidy. Now it's tougher to move. If you move your masher in here, you can feel, see, it's tougher to get through, so it is stronger. It is not the same. And what is not the same is the cake mix. It's not the powderiness, it's not the softness. This is thicker. You can see how it's having a hard time moving through. But if you smell it, it's still very fragrant. You can still smell, it smells like banana bread, actually. Okay, if you want to take a little bit and feel with your fingers, you can feel it. Feel it. It's a wetness, it's a stickiness. It's not at all like we just felt earlier, okay? It is a different consistency. So what we're going to do now is we're gonna add a couple of ingredients. Let's go ahead and clean this off and make sure we save as much of the batter as we can. This is now called batter, okay? What we're going to do is we're going to add some cinnamon. Now we're going to add just some flavoring, and this is really to taste, okay? You don't have to add it. You don't even have to add a lot of it, but it comes out better when you add a little bit of taste. So we're going to add a half a teaspoon of cinnamon, maybe another little dash. Okay. And then whenever I do baked goods, I like to add nutmeg. Any kind of nutmeg. If you want to add fresh nutmeg, I only add maybe 1 or 2 dashes. It goes through the whole batter, and you'll feel it. And then another thing that I add is a pinch of salt. So I take just a little bit of salt. It's interesting when it comes to baking that actually a pinch of salt will bring out the sweetness in whatever baked good you have. So we're going to go ahead and take that. Now I'm going to give my assistant a spoon or a spatula so she can mix everything together. While my assistant is mixing, let's talk about how cinnamon feels and smells. This usually comes out in a powder form if you buy it like this. Again, I'm not advocating the brand, it's just what I have. But if you pick it up and you feel it, this also feels kind of this silky softness, but just a little more coarse than the cake mix feels. And if you want to smell it, it smells delicious. It's another distinctive smell that I can't compare it to. It's kind of an earthy smell, a spicy smell, and again, very, very soft powder. This usually comes in kind of a stick form and is grated into this. What was the second ingredient we added was nutmeg. Nutmeg comes in, it's kind of, looks kind of like a nut. It's a little round thing and then it comes in this form. This is ground nutmeg. I like ground nutmeg because I can pick it up and I can either have it more coarse like this where it's kind of coarse, or I can have it, I could go like this and make it finer. So if you touch it, go ahead and touch it. It's coarse. It's kind of like sandiness. And if you smell it, this again smells like spicy earthiness, okay? Nutmeg is a great spice to bring out other flavors in your cooking. Okay, so you could take the time to feel this and smell it. Okay, and then what was the last ingredient that we had added was salt. Many of you are already familiar with salt. We're going to pour some in a napkin here so that we can talk about it from a sensory level. Salt, most salt, like this kind, granulated salt, is coarse. It is very coarse. It feels like sand, the kind of sand that if you got in your eye would be really irritating. It has no smell really, a slight smell, but often salt is used more for the taste than the fragrance, unlike nutmeg and cinnamon, which are very, very fragrant. You can see right here, very coarse, rough. This is rough. Rough is not the same as smooth. Smooth and rough are opposites. Okay, so this is cooking spray. Many of you are probably familiar with it. This is used quite frequently in baking so that your baked good doesn't stick to the pan. This is my muffin tin. So we're going to make how many muffins? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 muffins, and a muffin tin is usually made like this, like kind of out of some type of metal. There's different types of metals. This one's a non-stick and it's a little bit heavy in comparison to maybe a cooking sheet or other baking tools. So this one is, to me, feeling kind of hard. You can hear that? It's hard. It feels a little bit cold. I'm going to take my cooking spray and I'm going to spray every well generously because I don't want my muffins to stick. So I'm going to take the spray and I'm going to start with here. Okay, so continuing on with our sensory here, let's talk about the spray. When it came out, was it a solid? No, it didn't really come out as a solid like the spices or the cake mix or the bananas. Not something you could actually pick up and touch. But once you spray it on the pan, you can go ahead and run your finger here on the outside. It's wet, it's sticky. Like, makes me feel like I want to wash my hands instantly. Go ahead, you can touch on the outside. Okay, so what we're going to do now is my assistant has completely mixed all of this. What a great job she has done. Go ahead. See, it has been completely incorporated. There is no solids of banana and there's no cake mix. I'm going to take my spoon here, which is, it's actually a ladle, but what we'll do is we'll take it like this. I'm only going to take half of the ladle full because you only want to fill up half of the well. Why? Because once the banana cake mix rises and cooks, it will rise and it will overflow, and we want it just above the well here. It's about that high. Okay, we don't want it overflowing on top of all the other wells. So I'm going to go ahead and fill up all our wells. Okay, you can see that I filled up the wells about halfway through, maybe a little bit more because I was using a larger ladle this time. But you can see that I didn't fill all the way and I didn't overfill. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take this over to our oven that was 350 degrees that's already been preheated. And when you open the oven, don't stick your hand in here. I just want to explain to you again, going on the whole sensory. We're feeling it is hot. You are not to work with a hot oven, okay? You wait for your mother or your father or another adult to come and help you. I can feel it's very hot. I don't want to touch anything inside. I'm going to take my pan. I'm going to place it on the middle rack. It is 350 degrees in here. And then I'm going to set a timer for 18 minutes. And that's when I'm going to come back, probably a little bit before 18 minutes to check for when it's done. And then I will show you how to do that. So we'll be back in about 18 minutes. Okay? Okay, stay on this side. Okay, our timer is done. We're going to go ahead and press our timer, but we're not going to turn off our stove because we're going to check on our muffins, okay? Because if you turn off your stove and your muffins aren't done, then you have to turn your stove back on. So here's our muffins. Ooh, look, they rose perfect height. This is called a toothpick test, but I use a steak knife because it makes some nice slits and it tests enough of to see. Sometimes a toothpick is just too small. So we're gonna go ahead and poke it in on the side towards the middle and it comes out clean. Now we're gonna go on the other side towards the middle and it comes out clean. What does that tell me? It tells me that it is done. I said our muffins and it is done. The knife came out clean, meaning there's no more batter that needs to be cooked. So the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna turn off your oven, okay, so that there's no more heat being created. It is still hot. You do not want to touch inside of it, but turn this off for safety. Then you can take your muffin mitts here, oven mitts, I'm sorry. You're gonna take out your muffins and you either put them on a drying rack so that they cool, or you could put them directly, because our stove happens to be glass, that I can put them directly on top. Close this up, make sure the door is securely closed, that it won't flip back open. And you can smell. I can't touch them because they're hot, we'll touch them later, but you can smell, they smell delicious. They smell like banana bread, fresh baked banana bread. Thank you. We're done with our 12 muffins here, and I put it right on here. Okay, you could put it on like a mitten or a divot or a towel, because we don't want to destroy our counters. They look good, but they smell even better. They smell so good. I've washed my hands. I'm gonna go ahead and use, you can use a spatula. I always use a butter knife just to make sure that the sides aren't sticky. And you can see my knife still comes out clean, okay? Gonna take out one. Let me talk about how it smells. It smells like banana bread or fresh bananas, something warm and comforting. And now I'm gonna go ahead and cut it open so we can see the inside. And this is what it looks like inside, baked all the way through. It's fluffy, it's soft. The edges here are a little bit harder because that's where it cooked. And it has kind of a soft feeling. If I smush it together, it's silky, okay? And then if I smell it, again, it's very, very fragrant. It smells just like banana bread. So I'm gonna go ahead and take a little bit of a bite. It's really good. It's nice and warm. It tastes like bananas, very sweet. It has a very sweet taste to it. So there you go. That's how we made banana muffins. You can go ahead and make it at home. And remember to touch everything and feel it and smell it, because that's the way you're gonna learn how to be a better cook. Bye.